he was standing there in his description, he was like, your training should be like sex without penetration.
Before we get into the exact meaning of this little soundbite, I want to first show you guys a clip from this video I recently made while I was in Miami. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. In it, I talked to Alexei Tarakty, who's been one of my biggest influences in training and also just a good friend of mine, and we end up just talking about training.
If you stay stronger, you stay slower.
Slower, yes.
If you move your power down, you stay faster.
Yes. If you move your strength down.
Yeah, that's why you can be stronger, but you will be so slow.
I think it's interesting to talk about the correlation between strength and power. I also think that Alexei puts this rather simplistically, but remember, English is his second language. So let's see if we can explain it just a little bit further. I often cite periodization by Tudor Bompa on this channel, and I'm going to use it again to build on Alexei's points. The macro structure of training should be split up into 4 different phases. Anatomical adaptation, wherein the athlete can adapt the muscles, especially the tendons, for future higher loads. Hypertrophy, wherein the athlete will seek to increase muscle mass, especially in the fast twitch muscle fibers. Maximum strength, wherein the athlete tries to achieve the highest level of specific strength. An example of this would be a high jumper trying to achieve the heaviest possible back squat, as the prime movers in the back squat directly carry over to the prime movers in the high jump. And finally, conversion to specific strength. This is simply the phase where the athlete needs to be at their peak physical potential to succeed at their specific sport. Okay, so I know that last part might have been a little bit confusing, so let me clarify. Maximum strength deals with the highest specific strength, and then conversion to specific strength, when I learned this, we just called it conversion to power. This is where semantics get a little bit funky, but basically if you think about the high jumper, he had a 1 rep max back squat in the maximum strength phase, and then the conversion to power is just simply peaking that individual to jump as high as they can for their meet or competition. So yeah, carry on, Zach. Barring the anatomical adaptation phase, which may be more important to multi-directional sports or team sports, the other 3 phases line up perfectly with the juggernaut training system phases in accumulation, intensification, and realization. If we look at the focus of each phase of training, we can understand more of what Alexei was trying to say. You simply cannot be optimal in 2 different qualities at the same time. This doesn't mean that even though you cannot optimize both qualities, you can't make gains in both qualities, because a proper program should distribute the training load toward each quality year-round. The overall intensity directed at each quality changes. This style of programming is called concurrent programming. Here's why all of this is vital to remember. In the heat of training, this concept is often lost. Here's an excellent example of this. After I put together the largest total of my life at the American Open and PR'd my clean and jerk and my clean, my coach and also coaching mentor, Max Ada, focused my training on building muscle and strength. In this phase, I was able to take 170 kilos in the back squat and do it for 10 reps. And to be honest, I think I had a little bit more in me, and this is something that I could not believe I could do. Needless to say, my confidence was sky high. Later on in that same training cycle, I saw snatch and clean and jerk singles off the blocks on the program. I asked Max if I could go for a max lift on these because the recovery from block work is lessened, and he said yes. So I came in the next day feeling amazing. I expected to PR in both lifts, and here's what happened. This right here is why you need to buy into periodization. Even though I was the strongest and probably had the best muscular endurance of my life, most likely I had the most amount of functional muscle mass on my body, and I still got my shit kicked in on a partial movement with less weight than I did 4 weeks prior. Different qualities, different phases. And this is why Max has a sign on his wall saying, "How you feel is irrelevant."
What it really means is that, like, how you feel is not something that really needs to have as much weight as I think people put on it. Sometimes you have to just do the training in front of you. Just do what's asked of you. It's not necessarily to say so much that the training needs to be, you know, super hard or super easy. It's just that, you know, some days are good, some days are bad. Whether it feels good or bad is just it's not relevant. It doesn't really matter. You have to execute the training you need to get better and avoid the bad days, or not let them weigh on you, and not get so hyped about the big days. Mikhail Koklayev, who is arguably probably one of the best strength athletes of the modern day, huge weightlifting numbers, 210, 253, incredible weightlifter, incredible power lifter, 900-pound deadlift, incredible strongman. But you know, he told me something once that really was like something I already known, but it's this concept, this idea that you know, your training should have a certain tone to it, should have a certain sort of intensity level to it, and not like we're talking about, not the science. He was standing there in his description, you know, he was like, you know, your training should be like sex without penetration. It's like the foreplay for the competition. Everything is building and building and building up, but you're not exhausting yourself. You're not going into the gym every session and fighting to the death, tooth and nail for every lift, and grinding, and, you know, it's not a brute force thing. It shouldn't be a brute force thing. It should be this gradual teasing out of the results, of progress, of momentum forward.
Invented the raincoat. I dropped like I should've invented the raincoat. I dropped like I should've invented the raincoat. I dropped like a drop. When I approach rappers.